Hey, what's going on? JD here, and this is the Daily JD. Thanks for tuning in, guys. As always, remember to like, comment, subscribe, share this video, let people know that you are here and want to join in the conversation. So, hope you guys had a fantastic weekend. I know myself, a very, very busy weekend. Had a great weekend on Friday. Went out to see grandson at the rec room. Josh WRB came out with me as well. We took in the show. It was absolutely fantastic. It was actually the first show where grandson headlined and essentially was a sellout. Really, overall, a great success. Hopefully, a great start to the music venue that is the rec room, and that those guys will continue to have some great shows like they did. I have to say, for a smaller show, it was absolutely fantastic. The room was packed, probably about 450 people there, so it was a phenomenally good time. So it was completely awesome. And totally fun. So that was super fun. And of course, on Saturday, I got to watch and work Smashing Pumpkins, and basically headed out there and had a great time there as well. So Smashing Pumpkins show was also absolutely phenomenal. They played for probably 32 songs. It was a soundboard shoot, so I had to use a long lens. I did use the Sony a7 III. If you go to the Portal magazine, if you are at all interested in that kind of stuff, by all means, sort of check it out. You can see exactly, if you're a concert photographer, how that all, sort of works out in that kind of situation. And, given that I was using basically a 70 to 200, could have done with a longer lens, but that was the longest that I had, as well as using that along with an adapter. It was, one of those things. Hey, good to see you, Nick. Thanks for dropping in. Good to see that you are ready and waiting. And it's funny because I think today's topic in particular, you will be very interested in, and I am actually honestly very interested in your feedback on the subject matter. It was just one of those things that sort of came up over the weekend, and to me, it's kind of a very interesting topic, as well as, it's something that I'm just kind of, a little taken back. You sort of have some back and forth with people. You have a debate, and, it's just, I think sometimes people are completely closed-minded to the fact, and it's very interesting. So what I'm talking about is essentially there's a movement currently. I sort of traced it back, I think, to the original YouTuber. Ultimately, they published it on September 6th, and basically, I'll read you exactly what it was. It says, "An open letter to YouTube 2018. Is it fair that either the filmmaker or the musician takes 100% of YouTube videos' money? I think not. We both add something to the video, so should both be paid for it. Currently, if we use copyrighted music in our videos, then the music owner takes 100% of the video's revenue. And it says, if we use copyright-free music, we get 100% of the money and the musician gets nothing. Surely, both the filmmaker and the musician should be getting paid. What do you think? Am I missing something?" And then it goes on to say, "Please discuss below." Do I think that, in fact, they are missing something? Absolutely. I think that they're missing a big chunk of sort of the discussion. I think that it shows, sort of a limited understanding of music and music licensing. And, it was kind of interesting that the debate that I had moving forward in regards to, sort of this conversation. What I kind of got out of the situation is that they were unhappy getting, when music makers basically claim 100% of the revenue. So if you go into basically YouTube's video, or sorry, music library and you go in there, you can find a bunch of number one royalty-free songs in which the creator does not have to pay any royalties to that music generator. And on the tail end of that, I know that YouTube does pay a lot of those guys to submit stuff, and they have guys that they actively pay to add music to that library. And essentially YouTube pays the license for that, and it gets, distributed that way. But in the end of the day, YouTube doesn't take any money from the creator. It's just kind of one of those services that YouTube puts out there. A lot of people do utilize the music. It is very generic. It is not the best music in the world. So a lot of creators will actually move towards things like music services like Endemic Sound, Shutterstock, who also has stock, iStock, all these different stock sites for music. There's other basically music sites as well that go out there. You have a subscription, you can use their music, and through that, you license the track. The thing with those third-party ones is that, much to sort of the argument here is that, well, I get to keep 100% of the revenue, so the musician doesn't get paid anything. That's, again, not necessarily true in the sense that you are paying a membership. That membership pays for the music. When somebody uses it, I guarantee you the company is paying these guys a licensing fee, whatever that is. That's sort of the business arrangement they have. But again, the musicians are getting fairly compensated because this is something that they signed up for in the process. They're not, getting nothing at the end of the day. So through this discussion, essentially, it occurred to me that people do not really understand, number one, I think, copyright and licensing, nor do they really understand, sort of the value of music. Sort of the complaint was that, well, if I use a song, they should just be happy that, if my video makes 2 cents, that they get 1 cent and I get 1 cent. Which I guess, on a, sort of general statement maybe is fair. But that being said, that, when you look at something like the Beatles, who, license out a song to Mad Men for $250,000 to be used in one of their episodes, it's not really comparing the same thing. I mean, any advertising executive will tell you that, they can pay upwards of $100,000 for a top, 10, top 40 kind of song to put to their commercial. I know that Nick and, like I said, Nick, I would love for you to sort of weigh in. Part of his, what he does is he creates music for commercials in a sense that, Harley Davidson will come to him and say, hey, we want a song that sounds like Back in Black from AC/DC. Why? Because they can't afford to pay the licensing fee. And this is Harley Davidson, or they don't want to pay the licensing fee. They want that similar sort of feel. And that's where basically musicians like Nick make their living. So I mean, again, it's kind of weird to me that people feel that they should be able to pluck top 40 songs, plug them in their video, pay an artist, if it gets watched a few times, maybe 2 or 3 cents, and that they should be satisfied with that. To me, I feel that kind of devalues the work that artists have. I think that YouTube's arrangement currently, where some artists will allow you to put top 40 music to your video, but retain 100% of the royalties, is honestly completely fair, because I know, in a sense that at the end of the day, you wouldn't be able to afford that license. I did a video with Lloyd a while back. It was sort of a homage to Kevin Smith's Clerks. We sort of changed the scene to, kind of go along with our podcast. We call it The Hunt for Sasquatch. It took place outside of a convenience store. But if you've seen Clerks 2 and you know the scene where they do Goodbye Horses, or if you've watched the little short that we did, you'll know the exact scene. Of course, I cannot afford the license for, Goodbye Horses. I just can't do it. So ultimately, luckily, through YouTube's system, I could do it, and they basically take all the advertising. Knowing that I can't afford it, knowing that I can't afford a few $1,000s for that song, knowing that I would probably not make the money back, I am more than happy to do that. And to me, that seems unequivocally fair. The fact that I'm allowed to use something that really I have no access to otherwise. If I went to them, they'd say, you know, well, that's going to cost you $5,000-$10,000 for that license, which I'm not going to cough up. I think that, you know, basically saying at the end of the day that you can use it and they get pennies on the dollar, I think is 100% completely fair. I'm just going to jump to the comments now. Nick says YouTube keeps 50 to 95% of the revenue depending on the level of partnership and the ad spend payout per type of video. So, I mean, again, at least they are revenue sharing in that. Hey, good to see you, Woodrow. Thanks for dropping in. Good to see you. Then out of the record company gets their cut. The publisher, the writer, the performance finally gets theirs. Yeah, so I mean, ultimately, at the end of the day, I mean, there's a lot of people in the music industry to get paid along the way as well. I mean, not everybody is sort of self-promoting. Not everybody is, you know, self-producing. Not everybody is essentially going out there and getting their music in a position where it can be licensed or put out to, you know, these various platforms. So, I mean, again, you know, to me, this open letter just seems a little bit disingenuous in the sense that, you know, it's kind of focused on me. It would like be me as a filmmaker saying like, I'm going to, you know, make this video, and because I use your song, that you should just be happy with the penny or 5 pennies or $1 or $10, even $100 or $200 that you get, you know, from me, and I should be taking half the cut. I don't feel that is essentially, you know, fair in my books. And I mean, obviously this individual disagreed with me, you know, that, you know, they felt that no matter what, like what music they put in their video, they deserve compensation from YouTube ads, given the fact that, you know, they're using copyrighted music. And I mean, I think there's definitely a disjoint as well in the sense that, you know, like it's just kind of going from 0 to 100 for me. Like it's, you know, we all utilize, you know, in a lot of ways, we utilize music in our videos. You know, of course, I would love to use the latest, greatest, best song going on, the most popular song, because that's ultimately going to drive that's going to drive traffic to my video. So, I mean, it's kind of funny. I think people fail to realize, number one, I think they know it subconsciously, is that music adds value to video, yet they seem very, very unwilling to sort of pay for it. And I think that's, you know, sort of kind of the curse. And it always bothers me, I think, that much more, essentially, when creatives are all for not paying other creatives. You know, to them, it may seem fair. Like it's, you know, I make $1, I'm going to give you 50 cents. I'm going to keep 50 cents. But, you know, again, you know, if that song is worth, you know, $1,000 to get the basically master and sync rights to put it to video, YouTube has done you a huge favor by negotiating that deal and even allowing it to be synced. And I mean, you know, and when a musician does that, in my opinion as well, they give up a lot of control. If they say you can put it to, you know, you can put this music to your video and we'll take 100% of the revenue, they put themselves at risk of getting basically put on videos that they might not necessarily want to be associated with, whether it be political videos, whether it be, you know, absolutely nonsensical stuff or meme stuff, who knows, right? At the end of the day, you know, it is kind of crazy. Woodrow says, love Clerks. I love Clerks too. I love Kevin Smith. That is definitely no secret. Nick says, there are a lot of people that get paid from the single use, not to mention that if you are taking my music without permission, you are stealing from me. And I agree with that 100%. I think that, you know, a lot of people don't realize that. I mean, again, you know, I think people if we were to reverse roles, if people were taking their video and, you know, just throwing it in there, they would, you know, into a montage of B-roll and they find all these fancy clips, they would scream bloody murder. They would be super upset that somebody did something without their permission. You know, part of it was, you know, I said, you know, and this conversation was quite lengthy, and maybe at some point I'll throw a link down below to sort of indicate where you can sort of read sort of the back and forth, because it was very, very long-winded. I try to give several examples. This individual just didn't want to hear anything. He just, like, if I make a video, I deserve to get paid, was kind of the attitude that I got. And I feel that is unequivocally, incorrect. Like I said, when you do things like make videos and make films as a filmmaker, when you go out and you basically get the music, you have to know what your budget is. You have to know what you can afford. You have to be able to do those things. And sometimes, you have to settle. There is a good example, and I'm going to jump back to Kevin Smith, for example. Kevin Smith, when he made Jay and Silent Bob Strikes Back, he wanted to use basically The Most Beautiful Girl in the World by Prince. That's the song that he wanted to use. He wanted to use it when basically Jess comes into the first time, when Jay and Silent Bob first see her. When she walks in, they wanted to play that, and there's kind of this slow-mo montage, and Jay falls immediately in love, and that's what he wanted to use it for. Prince didn't allow him to do that, and he couldn't afford to pay the license, but ultimately he settled for Jungle Love by the time, and obviously that changes the tone of the movie. I get that, filmmakers want to use certain songs, that they have certain songs in mind, that they want to sort of set the mood, but in all honesty, if you can't afford to pay for it, you should not be complaining when somebody, gives you the opportunity to use it and they take everything away. Unless your videos are going to make millions and millions of dollars, you have no reason to complain. And even if you are going to make millions of dollars off the thing, going into making the film, you have these decisions to make. Can you afford to do it? Are you going to make your money back? Are you going to invest in it? Should you invest in it? You can do all those things. These are all decisions that happen way before this should ever get published. The fact that you're publishing and you're complaining later is absolutely, absolutely ridiculous. It says, therefore I get the revenue from whatever I used it for. That is the law. And absolutely, Sting took Puff Daddy to court and won. And this day, every time I'll Be Missing You by P. Diddy is played, Sting gets paid. And the court sided with him because P. Diddy stole his intellectual property and infringed on his rights. And it's absolutely, I think, part again of the problem is and this is, it's going to be a slight against a lot of YouTubers out there, that they learn everything via YouTube, and, they kind of just jump in there and, they think that they should be able to do stuff and they want to do stuff, but they really don't understand the, sort of the idiosyncrasies of what the reality is. They don't understand the law. They don't understand what they have to do. They don't understand the value of it. I mean, the truth of the matter is that you can get sort of a canned, very, what I would say, amateurish kind of music track off a site that is, just okay. And that will cost you anywhere from $50 to a couple $100 to sync to your video. So the fact that YouTube, again, is putting together a music library for you that you can utilize with a lot of free songs. There's a ton of free songs on there. You can go in and select stuff by mood, and you can go in there and select stuff by genre. And, these are all there and available for you. Yet people are essentially complaining that, they want their cut. I mean, the truth of the matter is that, if you put a Justin Bieber song to your vlog because it is the latest, greatest song, chances are you're not going to be able to afford that. The fact, again, that you're afforded an opportunity to use it just by giving up your revenue, so be it. Like, I mean, to me, that's a good trade-off. Have been times that, essentially, I've done that. I have used a song, given up my revenue, knowing that it's a good song, that the video will benefit from it, and the payoff is later on with views of different videos and so forth. Further to that, I mean, if you have the associations and you have the relationships with people, there is nothing to say that you can't go garner your own deals. For example, if somebody is good friends with Nick or they work with Nick, I am sure that Nick will work some deals with you, you know, in that sense. I mean, he's not going to undersell himself by any stretch, but, you know, he might say, listen, this is what I normally cost, you know, let's go with this and let's do a revenue split. You know, he might do something along those lines. And I mean, I've done similar things with bands myself. You know, I have some vlogs where I have band music in there. I've been to band concerts. And, you know, ultimately at the end of the day, they're not concerned about it, you know. But it's having that conversation, you know. Lloyd and JD podcast, we've had 2 songs that are essentially, you know, if you put them on there, you will basically get a copyright notice from YouTube because of that. We don't have that with Lloyd and JD because we have an agreement and it's there, so we can circumvent that system. You know, I've done stuff with, for example, The Path Less Traveled. Same thing, you know, if you go, because of the way they do their music, and use a Path Less Traveled song, automatically YouTube is going to send you a copyright letter. But if you have a different agreement, you can do that. And it's not saying that you can't do that. And, you know, again, you know, going back to this conversation that I had, part of the argument was, well, I don't want to go out and, you know, talk to all these bands, and I don't want to, you know, establish, I just want this kind of cut rate across the board blanket. Doesn't matter if you're top 40 or just coming out of the garage or basement. And to me, that's just laziness. I mean, the truth of the matter is, people do not owe you shit. You know, musicians do not owe you shit. You know, the fact that, you know, it is a business, the music business, people need to be aware of that. People don't owe you shit. I don't owe you shit. Nobody owes you shit. Just get out there, do your work, good business relationships, pay what's due to people. You know, respect people across the board, and that should be good. I'm going to jump back to the comments here. Hey, good to see you, Josh. You got an ad coming in. That is cool. Nick says, here's the thing. Everyone thinks that music isn't important. Try watching a movie with no soundtrack and no incidental music. It gets super boring. And that's what I mean. I think, you know, a lot of times people think, well, you know, and this is sort of a curse across all creative endeavors, whether you're a graphic artist, whether you're a photographer, whether you are a musician, whether you're a sculptor, a dancer, a painter, whatever the case may be. A lot of times people think just because you love doing this and, you know, that it is your passion, that you should, you know, be happy that people are just using your stuff and that they don't have to pay, which I think is absolutely ludicrous as well. And you see that attitude is very, very prevalent, you know, which is super crazy because if you think about it, there is more media and more videos and more production stuff generated in this day and age than any other point in time. You know, and it will continue to increase. The internet has done that. You know, a lot of people personally, you know, are creating content. I think everybody in this chat is creating content and they are going out. And whether, you know, it doesn't matter if you have an office building or if you're doing it out of one room in your house or your basement or whatever the case may be, or have a full-fledged studio, you're putting time and effort and all that kind of stuff into there. You're creative. You know, your creative endeavors are putting it out there. Unfortunately, a lot of times we're not seeing a lot of money get paid towards that because people, they just, you know, automatically assume that you don't deserve to get paid. A lot of people, even today, if you were to walk out and say, hey, you know, some YouTubers make millions of dollars and this is how they make their living, they would be blown away, especially older generations. So there, you know, it's a very, very interesting thing. But again, you know, kind of what irks my case is that when other creatives are like, hey, like I made this video and then I used this song. I didn't ask for permission to use the song. I just yanked it out of the library and threw it in there. And because of that, I deserve a cut and YouTube needs to fight that for me is utter bullshit. It's complete and utter bullshit. Nick says the same can be said for music. You can listen to it on its own without visuals. However, video can and does add value to the music. But again, creator, director of the music video gets paid. Absolutely. It's, you know, it's definitely a reciprocal thing. Although I would say that the time of the music video was probably, I would say its biggest in the 80s. I don't watch a ton of music videos. I know they do exist. I know Vivo is a huge thing on YouTube, but I'm not sure, honestly, how big influence music videos are these days. I feel that, you know, things like Spotify and iTunes, which also pay ridiculously terrible for, you know, artists, are essentially, kind of where it's at. Gets paid upfront or in the royalties. And that's the other thing as well. There was kind of this misconception as well when I was talking to this individual. He's like, well, you feel that you deserve to get paid. Why don't I deserve to get paid? It's like, well, you're asking the wrong questions. You're not asking about the deals. Just because I strike a deal with an artist doesn't mean that I don't pay them to use stuff in my videos. I mean, in my mountain bike videos, there were deals that involved payment. There were deals that involved cross promotion. There were deals that involved, all sorts of things in association with premieres, all that kind of stuff, plus credits and all sorts of stuff. If it got played in theaters, there was royalty payback, all that kind of stuff. I think people really don't understand how it works. And I think that if you are going to make a living doing these kind of things, it is to your benefit to go out and learn as much as you can about things, like music licensing, because it has an impact on what you do. And obviously, maybe YouTube is not the best solution for you. There are probably other alternatives out there, and you should probably investigate those. But, to expect people to spoon feed you and, do it all for you, that is just laziness. And I think, sometimes YouTube breeds that laziness in the sense that, people just expect. Everybody expects, okay, YouTube, go out and get me advertisers, get me paid. My royalties suck. I'm not getting good ad dollar value. Well, why aren't you getting better ads for me, YouTube? Why don't you get your own? You can do that as well. That's an option. You can't rely on a third party to run your business. It's simply not reasonable. You are eventually going to get slaughtered because, especially in a case like YouTube, they really don't care at the end, what happens to you. As long as you're generating money, that's fine. But like I said, tomorrow they could turn off the taps, pay you nothing, pay nobody anything. And ultimately, at the end of the day, they could probably say, hey, you know what? I want to charge you $10.99 a month just to host your videos here because we provide a great service and we have all these great people. And as a creator, well, that's up to you. It's up to you to go find your advertisers. It's up to you to negotiate your music license deal. We don't care about that, so it's something to be very, very aware of. Woodrow says, so true, drops a few Bear the Destroyers. She's been pretty good today, so Bear's been awesome. Nick says, in today's social media with IM and DM, etc., it's so easy to reach out to any band to request permission for use of their music, or at least someone who knows who to contact. And that is completely true. You can get access to people that in the past would have been so hard to get a hold of. Things like Twitter, for example, are a fantastic way of getting in direct contact. Twitter is fantastic for that. A lot of people are managing stuff simply on their phones, and you can get, access to people that you would never have access to. So, at the very least, or whoever's managing that can put you in the way. Same thing with Facebook. A lot of bands still, you can go, they have all the information. If you go to their website, you go to the contact stuff, it's so easy. You don't even have to make a phone call these days. It is that simple. Lots of jalapenos. I am a little hot. I have definitely been hot the last couple days. Josh says, I feel like we all have the skills in a lot of different areas and get taken advantage of, but I have been a one-man band for so long, I don't know anything else. It is interesting, sort of the concept of the one-man band and doing everything yourself. I think that in today's day and age, there are a lot of people like Josh that can do so much, that are well-versed across the board. And I think a lot of times, not so much in Josh's case, but a lot of people, that are coming up, younger people that have those skills do get taken advantage of. They're just aiming to please, and they just sort of get sucked in, to bad deals because they're just out there trying to prove themselves. And at the end of the day, somebody's just looking to take advantage of them. So, it's very, very interesting. That sort of that one-man band thing. I know that I am essentially a one-man band as well. And that's kind of how it is. I will hire hired guns from time to time to do certain things for me. But generally speaking, the vast majority of the heavy lifting is done by myself. But, there's an advantage to that and there's a disadvantage to that. One is that you have a capacity for time. We can only go so many hours in the day without sleeping. And at the end of the day, you are very susceptible to burnout, especially if you are overloading yourself. As well, the advantage is that you have complete control. You're doing exactly, you know what you want, and you get it done. Anybody that's worked in groups or creative groups will know that from time to time, you will be working on something and, you'll task somebody with something, and what you get back is nowhere near what you want. You're sort of back to the drawing board and you kind of waste a little bit of time. To the same extent, I've had stuff come back as well and be absolutely fantastic. Not what I'm looking for and even better. So, I mean, it's all, like I said, it's an interesting process. But again, sort of this open letter, definitely, I think, completely misguided. I think that just even understanding and having the discussion that how much this stuff costs, like I said, that episode of Mad Men, basically for $250,000, they used I think it was like 2 minutes or 2 minutes and 30 seconds of the song. So it wasn't even the whole Beatles song. They basically pulled the needle off the record halfway through, but he paid an extortionate sum. The fact that you may have the opportunity to use like something like that on YouTube, it's absolutely, it's crazy that you could pay a couple cents for anything. To me, that's a bargain and a half. Like who can afford that otherwise? Josh says, Blackout Beta, are you getting it? No, because I still have not pre-ordered. I don't know what I'm doing in those regards. I have so many games that I need to play at this current time. It's unreal. I got a wrestling game a while back. I've played it like one day. I've got all sorts of stuff, Destiny 2, a whole bunch of games, and I'm just, kind of on there doing kind of nothing, kind of spinning my wheels gaming-wise. So there you go. Hey, Archie, thanks for joining us. You have missed an epic half hour of me ranting about this, open letter to YouTube that somebody put up. I think it's just absolutely crazy. But yeah, like I said, sort of Jack Shirley's open letter, I don't think it is a great thing. You will probably see some hashtags at the top of this video. I believe the one that is open letter, you will see the video that I'm talking about. It's kind of long-winded, doesn't get to the point. The commentary where I had on the Facebook page was in a YouTube group as well, YouTube Small Creators, which is sponsored by TubeBuddy. It went on for quite a while. Again, just no kind of concept of, what the value of things are. I think at one point I used an example of, if I have enough money for bus fare and, I can catch the bus to work, but a buddy who owns a Mercedes, offers to pick me up and take me to work, and he expects that dollar for gas, and he goes and picks up coffee and doesn't get me a coffee. Just because he doesn't get me a coffee doesn't make him an asshole. I mean, he's doing me a favor along the way, so I kind of don't get it, in terms of value. What about FIFA 19? FIFA 19, I always get FIFA games. I always love FIFA. I play with a group that we've played forever, since the beginning of FIFA. We always play pro clubs. We also love playing FUT and playing against each other. We have a good time doing that. If you look way back on my Twitch channel, you probably see some FIFA videos from a very long time ago. But looking forward to it. FIFA 19, always a good game, the beautiful game. Football is always fun. The shitty part for me is that I'm an Aston Villa fan. My team sucks balls, yet I have to assemble that thing and play with it and pretend that we actually can win games. So there you go. Mom's Universe says, so all about getting the Spider-Man. Josh WRB was streaming that last night. I don't know if you're streaming again tonight, Josh, but Josh was streaming Spider-Man last night on Twitch. Game looks absolutely phenomenal. Kind of open universe Manhattan. It's just amazing how it looks. And as much as I love superheroes, generally speaking, I despise superhero games, but this one I might have to get just on the basis of what it is. From what I see in video games, gotta love the Dark Knight. So, you know, those kind of games, that kind of fighting system, very, very cool. So Josh is streaming Blackout tonight. So Blackout is the latest version of Call of Duty, where basically it has, you know, sort of the same mentality, as far as I know, as PUBG, as well as, you know, Fortnite, sort of these 1 versus 100 or 4-man squad, which is super cool. You know, it's, you know, it will be super awesome, you know, to see how that sort of plays out. I've always liked Call of Duty up until like maybe the last few years. I just found that the games kind of got a little weird. This might take it back in a different way. I am still big into PUBG and, you know, all that kind of, you know, that kind of gameplay. I think PUBG is kind of the game that Call of Duty should have been, and hopefully Call of Duty can sort of one-up that, and hopefully it's good, because PUBG has some issues, especially on the Xbox. Archie says, I support Brighton Hove. Do you remember in the game Season 2 seasons ago when Brighton had to win the championships and Jack Grealish scored? Unfortunately, I don't get a lot of the Villa games here, and, you know, it's one of those things. I know Brighton Hove was kicking at the top. I know Lloyd is from Brighton Hove, but he is a West Ham fan. So, you know, I guess you got to pick a premier team. Brighton Hove, as Brighton Albion, I think is Brighton's name, if I'm not mistaken. Correct me if I'm wrong, Archie. On the last day of the season. Yeah, you know, to be honest, Aston Villa also screwed it up. They had a chance for promotion. They lost it in the playoffs, and here we sit in Premier Division 2. They really kind of need to get back, in my opinion. The longer you stay out of the Premiership, the harder it is to get back there. And I mean, you know, I can talk all day about Premier Soccer and how I hate Aston Villa as much as I love them, but that's just kind of how it goes. You know, one of the things I will say about sports in the UK is when you grow up with a team, it's in your blood. And the reason I support Aston Villa is that when I moved from Scotland to England, I moved to Birmingham, and basically I chose Villa as my team. And, you know, they had a fantastic run. They have 1 star, so that's pretty awesome. Josh says, same dude, this one feels good though, which is cool. You know, I'm definitely looking forward to a Call of Duty that plays well, that you can sort of get back into it. I think part of it is that I wasn't very good at the jumping and sliding and, you know, sort of the aerobatic stuff. I'm not a very good Halo player, so I think that's why some of, you know, like Advanced Warfare, you know, even some of the Black Ops, although Black Ops 2, I guess it would be Black Ops 2, I wasn't that bad at. The wall running and stuff is not my thing. I am much more a ground and pound kind of COD guy. Brighton Hove Albinos, though. Albion. Brighton Hove and Hove Albion. Brighton Hove Albion. There we go. Is the name. Perfect. Thanks, man. So that's kind of what I got for you. I've got an extremely busy week, in a sense, coming up as well. My next 2 weeks are absolutely hectic. Like I said, the stream will be going on. We've got 9 streams left before I leave, and then essentially it will be a while before I sort of come back, you know, sort of keep tuned to the Twitter and all that kind of stuff, and I will kind of let you know when I'm back here and back in the groove of things as well. But like I said, we got kind of, you know, 2 full weeks of streams before that happens. I'm in the process of, you know, basically nailing stuff down. I've been picking up hard drives, or trying to pick up hard drives from around the city. I want a specific kind. I'm basically picking up SSD drives, portable SSDs, to ensure that I get all the footage when I'm abroad on there. Also trying to get memory cards with a fast enough read-write thing, because Lexar went out of business, which was my favorite card for photography, and they don't really exist anymore. So I am trying to track down old stock, and it keeps on getting a little bit more and a little bit more pricey, because I like cards that start at about 128 gigabytes to put in the camera. I will be going with a Sony. I think, in a sense, I might just travel with a Sony and have the Canon as a backup, as well as some GoPros. So it will be very, very interesting. So, Yeah, and of course I've got I think I've got 3 shoots this week. I've got Craig the Lens, Sam Smith, and there's somebody else in there. And then next week I've got Rise Against and somebody else as well. You know, I don't have my schedule in front of me, but it's super, super busy. And of course I've got the YYC Music Awards and all that kind of stuff going on. And of course, this Saturday, I will remind you guys that we have the photo and video walk going on. So if you're interested in doing that, you can sign up through Eventbrite. There are a ton of people coming to this that I think there's about 8 or 9 people that have signed up, and I've never seen their names before, which is super exciting for me in the sense that I'm going to meet a bunch of new creative people that are interested in photography and videography, and we're going to go walk about the city and do all that kind of stuff. You know, I'm not sure if they're 100% YouTubers or if they're just interested in photo or video, so I think it's going to be a good time. I'm hoping the weather holds out. I know the forecast isn't necessarily the best this week as things start to get a little bit colder. I think summer is kind of almost officially out. But, you know, I look forward to seeing people at this photo walk, and it's something that I kind of want to continue on an ongoing basis. And again, you know, sort of the whole point of it is to share information, share knowledge, make some new friends, you know, find some like-minded people, and, you know, just go out there, have a good time, you know, and again, you know, just make this city just a little bit smaller overall. So if you have any questions, by all means, throw them in the chat. That's kind of all I have for you. If you are a streamer and watching this as well, just so you know, Stream Deck has a new update. I have not downloaded it yet. I should be doing that today. It's got some cool function features, I guess. So they've updated some stuff so it can do even more than it does already, and I think it is a fantastic thing. I love it. You know, it is very, very effective in what it does. Of course, you can, again, follow me over at Twitch. Hopefully, at some point, I will start streaming there on a regular basis. But I'm just kind of intermittent in that. Archie says, it's nearly midnight here. I am going to college tomorrow, so I'll tune in. See you later, mate. Thanks, Archie, for tuning in. Have a great time at college. You know, have a good time and have a lot of fun. Thanks again for dropping by. Josh says, I have to look into it. I just updated mine today. Fantastic. You'll have to let me know because you're on it first, and you'll probably be streaming with it first. I might not actually get out to look at it because I am heading back out here again to, again, essentially track down some hard drive stock and put it up. I don't know. It's just like I'm buying up all these hard drives because it's a very specific size, which seems to be very, very popular, mainly because I think of the price, but there you go. So again, guys, I'm going to do the old testaroo here. I'm going to click the play ad button. You might get an ad, you might not. If you get an ad, by all means, tell me, put ad in the comment. I guess you probably don't hear that if an ad's playing. If you don't get an ad, throw it in the comments to say, hey, I didn't get an ad, and we'll try to figure it out. Again, as always, it says playing ad based on the complex criteria. Some of your viewers will see an ad, keep on streaming. I think it's kind of a weird thing, this kind of thing. Like, I would think that it would just interject an ad if you could do it. But at the end of the day, I don't think it really kind of does anything. I think it's kind of weird, too. I got the beginning, so I doubt it will, and I didn't. There you go. I think it's just kind of weird that, you know, it doesn't do it across the board. It would, again, you know, if I had one request for YouTube, you know, since I was shooting down somebody else's request for YouTube, is if I had one request for YouTube is that when you click that play ad button, that it would just kind of do a short commercial break for everybody. That would be fantastic, especially for those who are streaming games. I think that, you know, putting in an ad break and having actual ads play so you could go and take and go to the washroom and all that kind of stuff that most streamers do, or go eat, or whatever the case may be, and they have, you know, back in a few minutes kind of thing, that would be absolutely spectacular. But apparently that is not the case. No ad for Woodrow. Rock and roll, says Nick. So again, thanks again for tuning in. I've had a lot of requests. I have had a lot of requests for YouTube. I have a lot of requests for YouTube. There you go. What we should do at some point, Josh, is you shoot those. What I'd like to do too at some point, and if anybody's down, is Skype test sort of things here and see how that works. I would love to actually start having some guests on the Daily JD and sort of have a conversation with people. I think that would be super, super fun. So if you are into that, have a nice little audio setup, which most of you probably do, definitely shoot me a note. I probably have to pick Nick's brain a little bit because I know he's done it. He has some great videos where he talks to alumni from Berkeley, and it works really well. The audio is super good and works out well. So hit that like button before you go. Smash that like button if you are new here. Please hit subscribe, like as well. We go live every day, Monday through Friday, 4 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. Thanks again for tuning in, guys. And until tomorrow, see ya.